Today we're going to take a look at the readings from the third Sunday in Ordinary Time. Usually in these reflection videos, I tend to focus on the Gospel reading just because the Gospel seems to be the focal point of the readings. Although all three readings during Sunday Mass are important. We go through a cycle of Gospel readings, A, B, and C, years A, B, and C, and this year we're in Luke. And so the Gospel readings will go from the beginning of Luke, which is this Sunday's reading starts at the very beginning, and it'll go all the way through to the end of Luke, just like last year went through Mark. And then the first readings are generally chosen to kind of correspond with the Gospel readings. The second readings are on their own sort of cycle, where we generally read through an entire epistle at a time. So right now we're reading Corinthians, and then next Sunday it'll be the next part of Corinthians, and it kind of continues on. Generally, it flips around a little bit here and there too. But the Gospel reading, you tend to follow it through an entire Gospel. So I usually focus on the Gospel reading in these Sunday reflection videos. But this video, I want to kind of flip it around a little bit and focus on the second reading. Because I think the second reading is very, very important to us as Catholics in particular, but to all Christians. It's about the members of the body and how there's different parts of the body and everyone has to play their part. There's statistics, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but there's statistics that say of weekly church attendees, so it's across all the denominational spectrums. Among weekly church attendees, the amount of people who are actually involved in some form of ministry, whether in an official capacity, like being a lector in the church or being an usher or something like that, or in an unofficial capacity, like taking an apostolate outside the church and feeding the homeless and doing things like that. That's not an official thing that you just take it upon yourself to do. The amount of weekly church attending Christians that do this is minuscule. It's like 10%, somewhere around that number. That's a bad number. we gotta up our game here. All of us are called to participate. We're not called to just come to church, listen, and then leave. As Catholics especially, we're called to fully participate in the liturgy. But also, at the end of the liturgy, at the very end of the Mass, where we get the word Mass, ite missa est, it is sent. And it's not just the Mass is finished, because now we say the Mass is finished, love and serve the Lord, or glorify the Lord with your life, thanks be to God. There's a few different dismissals, but basically take this out into the world is what we're told in the English translation, to love and serve the Lord with your life. When the Mass ends, our journey begins. We go out into the world on this first day of the week. We're going to church on the first day of the week, usually in the morning, and then we're sent out into the world. So whether we're doing something in church, which we should be doing, we should volunteer with one of the ministries of church. I guarantee you, if you look in your church bulletin, they're looking for help in some ministry, whether it's CCD education, whether it's with in my parish, they're always looking for extra people being ushers or help with the soundboard for Mass, things like that. They're always looking for extra help for Eucharistic extraordinary ministers of the Holy Communion or lectors. They always need lectors. I guarantee you, it won't even take you very much time. Look and find a ministry to be part of in your parish. But let's get to the reading itself. For just as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of the body, though many, are one body, so it is with Christ. For by one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jew or Greek, slave or free, and all were made to drink of one Spirit. For the body does not consist of one member, but of many. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the organs in the body, each one of them as he chose. If all were a single organ, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor the head of the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, the parts of the body which seem to be weaker are indispensable, and those parts of the body which we think less honorable we invest with the greatest honor, and our unrepresentable parts are treated with greater modesty, which our more presentable parts do not require. But God has so composed the body, giving the greater honor to the inferior part, that there may be no discord in the body, but that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Now you are the body of Christ and individual members of it. And God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then workers of miracles, then healers, helpers, administrators, speakers in various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? The point that St. Paul is trying to make at the end there is we may all have very different gifts. We may all have very different charisms. We may all have different fruits of the Spirit, but they all work together in the furtherance of the kingdom. There's people who have these different talents, different gifts, and God put all these different gifts in place so that we all can work together. The point being, we all have to use our gifts for the furtherance of the kingdom. So the biggest takeaway, I think, from this second reading is to find what it is you specialize in. And there's spiritual gifts tests you can take. I'll try to link one in the description here. Find what it is that you feel called to do by God in your church. You know, this isn't just directed at Catholics. Everyone, you have to get involved. If the hand looks at the feet, you know, that doesn't say the hand looks at the feet and says, I'm a hand, but I'm just going to sit here. The hand has to do what the hand does. The eyes have to do what the eyes do. You can't walk around with your eyes closed all the time. You can't cut your own feet off. You're called to something specifically to further the kingdom. We all are. Find out what it is and do it. Thank you for watching. God bless. Peace be with you.